Good morning, Pastor Matias and members of the board.
Good morning.
Thank you for taking the time to hear from us again today. We, as you probably noticed last night and also today, there are very few people in our audience. Many of our team members are in training or out of town. This is also a time that people try to stick in a few vacation days. So we're on a very thin crew at this time, no disrespect intended. We have a few other people who will be present, but they are actually leaving a different meeting. And we try not to walk in late, but they probably will be coming in a few minutes late. Today we have one topic, and it is probably one of the most important topics that we have addressed because it is about building the competencies of the members of our organization to carry out this work. Mary Jo and her team, I'm just going to say this, I don't typically say anything, they've been doing an outstanding job within. One example that I thought about today is for the first time we're conducting training over the summer through very close work with GREA and meeting with them and getting their approval and support. And not only are we conducting that training, but we are able to use our technology to determine exactly who has signed up for what classes and when, so we have a very good tracking system, and this team that is sitting to my right has been responsible for that work. I think you all know Mary Jo Kuhlman, Assistant Superintendent of Organizational Learning. I'd also like to introduce Tina Watson sitting next to her and Jen Saylor, and this is our Professional Development Department / team.
Just the three.
In the flesh, okay.
In the flesh.
We are honored.
So we have the one topic
Awesome.
this morning, and they will come at this time.
Probably me.
That is what we can do.
Just want to note that there is no public comment, so
That's right. Thank you. Well, good morning. And we are excited to be here. We are a small team, but we lift mighty big bricks and boulders to move the system in the direction it wants to go. That's right. That's right, Reverend Matias. And I am excited to have Jen and Tina join me. This is their first time in front of a board, so I'm really encouraging them to just be relaxed, don't be nervous, and we are hoping for being able to go back and forth. We don't have a PowerPoint. We gave you a couple of slides ahead of time, and then we brought some artifacts with you that we'll reference when we touch base with them. So our presentation today, we're going to do three things, each one of us, and we'll build on each other. I'm going to just present a really big picture of our work, and then Jen and Tina will drill in. And what we'll do is we'll give you the vision and the big picture, the direction, then we'll tell you how we're organized to learn, and then what we are learning. So those will be our three ways of approaching the story, so to speak. Jen will look at it through the academic professional learning as well as the non-instructional. So you'll see the whole picture. Tina's going to drill in for new teachers and mentors. And then I'll close out with some of the leadership development pieces. So that's our presentation for today. I want to start out by saying everything we do with professional learning is focused on the adult learning that will improve the student learning. And we're talking about everyone, all 2,500, 3,000 employees that we have in the district. We're talking about lunch servers, operations, plumbers, everyone, figuring out how do I fit into this world of student learning? Because it matters. It matters when you cut the grass if you're trying to take a test. So it's those kinds of things we think about continuously about when we have student learning, and we are also trying to build the skill set of everyone so that they know the district inside out. Being professional and being knowledgeable is really important to us, and Tina will be talking a little bit more about that. For every single person, being professional, being knowledgeable, understanding equity, and focused on student achievement. So our other piece is that we know when we do professional learning, it needs to be very practical for every employee. It has to have some kind of meaning and a problem of practice. What am I trying to solve here, and I need to learn so I can do better? We're good, now can we get to great by learning? Thirdly, we know we need to support implementation. That is probably their greatest challenge, not just here in GRPS, but across this nation. People will go to professional development or professional learning, but it's really hard to implement it. And especially in the role of a teacher, because you have 25 or so students sitting in front of you. You know how to manage your classroom in a certain way, and now I'm going to try something new. Will I still be able to do my classroom management and introduce a new way, a new practice? So that's a real challenge for teachers. Our goal is to have more job-embedded PD. By that, we mean that there should be continuous learning almost every day. That we still need to go over here, maybe to GRPS University or other places and hold a whole group session. But what we're trying to build is more learning right there on the job. We believe if we can get teachers the space, the time, and to work collaboratively, that's going to generate more learning by saying, hey, did that work for you? When I went to do text-based questioning, that didn't work. How did that work for you, Tina? What scores did you get from your children? Do you know what I'm saying? So you learn from each other and you can bounce those ideas. That is job-embedded learning. So we have to redefine and we have to shift our mindsets of how we even think about learning. Because so often we think about it going somewhere, sitting with someone sitting up in front or standing up in front on a stage, giving us, imparting some kind of knowledge, and now I'm supposed to take it back and use it. So we want to do it more job embedded, where I might go back, I might go to that full group session, but now how do I take it back? What's the practice? What support do I need back in my classroom or on my job and whatever job I'm doing? And lastly, we have pushed, and we're continuing to do that, pushing the responsibility of what the content is that I need to learn more and more into the respective role groups. One of the things we do not set necessarily is the content of PD. We do double check it to make sure it matches and it aligns with our academic plan. And for the non-instructional, we align it with our vision and mission. But we do ask the respective leaders of those divisions or the principals of those buildings to determine what is needed based on, and I'll do it here, and Jen's going to get into this, on academic plan and student data and teacher data. But Jen will drill into that, and now I'm crossing over to your area, and you're going, wait a minute. So let me just briefly talk about the how. As we talked, we're it for Professional Development Office, but we have a lot of great resources in how. We work closely, very closely with principals, with teachers, with the executive directors. We have to work so tightly with Carolyn and her team, because curriculum and PD have to go hand in hand. So that's how we get this done. But our work is to ensure that data in the academic plan and the 3 priority of the district is used to determine what the PD is. So we're sort of a safety net to make sure all of that is aligned. We also make sure that they're meeting, that we meet in small groups, and we also make sure that the principals are working closely with teachers. If we say teachers know, principals know best, then they have to look to their teachers and say, our teachers know what they need to. Mm-hmm. Because it has to be based on what is the teacher struggling with in that classroom. What don't our kids know and need to know, and what do I need to know as a teacher to help get our kids there?
I can just ask, so I know one of the things that a lot of our principals face is, although they're leaders in their buildings, and they ought to be, focused on teacher outcomes and so forth. A lot of their work gets caught up with a lot of the in the moment issues with students and the life of the school that really impends on that. So how have we moved to alleviate some of that so that they can really focus on supervising their teachers and their lead teachers and so forth? his comment real quick.
Right. What we have done is, first of all, we provided them with the professional learning on classroom observation and feedback, because you need to make sure you have a quality process there and that you have a deep knowledge of and the skills to be able to provide feedback, because it does take a skill. And then what we've also done is built in through our data analysis processes that when we're looking at common assessments, to go into classrooms as we do that data analysis from the common assessments, we look to see where are there gaps, and then working with teachers, what are the strategies we need to begin to use in order to improve that student learning, and then how do the principals provide support. So they need to go into those classrooms, and they may bring in, or they may ask a curriculum specialist to come in, or someone from the PD office, or anyone in the organization. And we're also trying to work to have teacher leaders in every building.
Mm-hmm.
We're not there yet, John, in terms of elementary, but we are still working, we are working very hard with the secondary, and Carolyn's been working on that over this past year. And then lastly, I would say, and maybe you want to talk about this for a minute, Jen, about meeting with principals. You want to share that
Sure.
piece that you did to develop?
And there is an artifact there. It says draft on the cover, right there on top. So, in hearing that question, I think one of my responsibilities is to make this accessible for principals and school administrators.
We only have 2 copies.
Okay. And what we're trying to do is make it so this doesn't feel as compliance-based, as far as check off PD from your list, but more around ingraining the principles of adult learning and supporting principals around bringing learning alive in their buildings. So this past year, we experimented a little bit with doing some principal workshops and working one-on-one with principals individually, going out and doing site visits at the building so that we could really talk through their PD plan. Because this idea of job embedded, kind of turning the learning over to the learner, is new to some. So we wanted to make sure that they had protocols in place so they weren't scrambling to say, how do I make this happen in my building? Because they have the day-to-day that they have to deal with, right? So we wanted to make it as accessible as possible. So we're putting together resources, and we really see our team as a resource, and the number of phone calls and emails that we get requesting support has increased over the course of this past year, which I think is a positive, meaning that, this team, we can reach out to this team for help. So this is one way. We're trying to just kind of get it organized for them and give them tools so that they have the information that they need to really be the leader of learning in their buildings.
May I ask, how does this fit in with somebody who may be earning her master's degree, or, is there some way that classes that they take at a university fulfills some of their obligations as far as professional development is concerned?
At this time, we don't have a college credit attached to it. However, it does fulfill their certification process.
Okay.
And do you want to, the DPPD?
So as a district, we provide the 30 hours of professional learning. So we support the district and that certification process. But if someone is going through a program for a master's degree, we offer, they can get their above and beyond PD credit. So the 30 hours is the expectation for everyone, and this would be for a teacher, for example. 30 hours is the expectation. Anything above 35 hours is considered above and beyond, and it gets them to a highly effective professional learning rating, evaluation-wise. So those credits that they're taking outside of the district-provided professional development then can apply to that. It applies to their work right within the school.
Okay, all right.
It sounds like that would be motivating too for teachers that feel that pressure, like I have to get an effective, highly effective rating, and how do I do that, and those kinds of things. So it seems like it would encourage them to get the kind of learning that they need, or PDs that they need. That's great.
I just want to wrap up my comments, my open comments, with the the areas that, to answer the question, what, excuse me, what is the organization learning? So first of all, we're learning a great deal on leadership development. We know we need to develop leaders well and deep across and deep into the system. We need teacher leaders. We need leadership among the non-instructional members. We need leadership just is so important. We need student leaders. I mean, it has to go deep into the system because today's world calls for very different leadership than what we may have been accustomed to. With the transformation that we're doing here in the district, the leadership that may have been based on management doesn't work. You truly have to be a leader because you can't just manage a system any longer. You need the management, but now you have to lead it into new ways of doing work and thinking about learning. Secondly is data. We collect an enormous amount of data. We need to learn how to apply that data so we actually get different results than what we've had in the past. Third is collaboration and accountability. That's that job embedded piece. Not only do I need to learn how to collaborate with others across the system, but there's an accountability to it. Are we doing what we said we're doing? And then figuring out, did it work or didn't it work? And those are important questions to learn because really you do learn from your mistakes.
Yes.
Failure and mistakes are great learning opportunities. So we want to take advantage of that, but we know we have to create a safe environment for that too, because there's some vulnerability with that. And then our core business. Of course, we always need to continue to learn what are the best teaching and learning practices and staying focused on student learning. Everything we do is helping students learn more. And then from the non-instructional side, really helping them understand that role of how they fit into that student achievement because they do have a hand in it. It matters how someone serves a student lunch. It matters.
Yes, I know. Yes.
Those small things we think they don't matter. The custodial staff, everyone in that building, everyone who encounters students, and even if you don't encounter students, our business office. Is this the best thing that in the wisest way we can spend our resources in order to serve students? So those are our big picture. And then Jen and Tina will give you some more specifics on those.
So I think I'm going to kind of follow the same outline that Mary Jo did. Who we are, who's learning, how we're learning, and then what we're learning. But I'll hopefully have some more examples, details around what's going on in the district. As Mary Jo mentioned, we've got 2,700 employees district-wide. So our team supports the entire district, both the academic and the non-instructional side of the work. So. Tina and I actually were in the office the one day talking, and we're like, it's amazing. Like, we really do get a pretty personal connection with everybody in the district because we can support them through what they're learning and, help see through the facilitation through their department and school leadership. Of that, 1,100 are non-instructional. 1,100 are instructional, 1,600 are non-instructional. So, as former teachers, we want to make sure that we're very conscious of the fact that the non-instructional staff has a voice, and their learning is just as relevant as our instructional staff. As I think I mentioned a short time ago, the expectation is that all role groups have 30 hours of professional learning a year. So their supervisors help support their learning through being very deliberate around what they're choosing for their staff and for all their employees. So how we go about that, we make sure we focus all of our work, we ground it in research. We want to make sure that what we're doing is effective and appropriate to all staff members. So we ground it in the principles of adult learning. And I think you received a handout that was uploaded. I'm not really sure how that would have been received.
I mean, with the graphic?
Yeah. It says professional learning program overview is the first page, and then there's a...
We just got the graphic with teacher, mentor.
Okay.
Not this
Yeah,
one.
that.
You didn't get this one?
Oh, yes, we
So-
did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or is I have copies here?
And I'll just reference, I don't want to have to dig too deep, but at the bottom of the first page that says the program overview, those 4 principles of adult learning are really what drive our work as far as theory and research is concerned. We want to make sure that we're trying to touch on those principles at all times. So when we talk about how that looks in our district, the learning-centered planning and evaluation, that comes through during our planning, collaborative planning process. So
Is it the mission, vision? I'm sorry, the mission, vision,
that
goal?
page.
Okay,
And then if you just scroll down a little bit, there's principles of adult learning at the bottom of that page.
okay. I
So
see.
those 4 bullet points are what help drive our work. But I just want to make sure that,
Okay,
do you see it? Okay. So those 4 points support our, help keep us in check and make sure that we're, really doing what's relevant and what's best for our staff members. So in the first bullet point, or the first principle, the fact that it's learner-centered, but that means that the learners are involved in the planning and the evaluation of the process. So we do that from district plan PDs, all the way through to staff member-led facilitation. So we want to make sure that the staff have a voice in the whole process. The second part being experiential learning, both bringing learners' experiences to the learning, but then also making the learning itself, giving practical hands-on experiences during the learning opportunity. And that comes through differentiated facilitation and delivery of the courses. So you have a resource there that is the facilitator's guidebook. It's the one that has the books on the cover, one of the spiral bound. That one. So that's what we use to support our facilitators to make sure that they're bringing those kind of experiences into the learning opportunity. And then throughout that resource that you're looking at, we talk about how to differentiate the content for learners to make sure that the objectives and the outcomes are relevant to what their employees' needs are. And these principles cross all role groups, so they're valuable to non-instructional and our instructional staff.
So how many hours are the non-instructional staff? Are they required, or
30 hours is the expectation.
even the
across district.
non-instructional? Okay.
That was something the superintendent believed in, that, well, if we're going to be a learning organization, you have to have time
No, I agree,
to-
that's a great
yeah.
idea, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's critical, because I know in talking to anything from coaches, to volunteers, if they don't know what's going on, because our students are going to them as an adult and saying, hey, I'm struggling with this, or they're checking grades, and so for them to understand that process is very helpful. One of the questions that I had is, how are you translating these principles to parents? So how am I getting it as a parent so that I understand this is what you're expecting of me? I mean, I see that very, I'm trying to get my thing here, but very practical in terms of like learner-centered planning and evaluation. What that would look like for me as a parent is, this is what you're learning in school, and these are the expectations that we have for you. And as a parent, hopefully I'm breaking that down by saying, okay, the TV's got to go off, something practical that helps me as a parent manage that. Because if I look at that just as a bullet point, it's like, what is that? How do I do that?
Right.
But if I understand that I got to manage my home in this way so that my child comes ready to learn, then that's very helpful if the school can break it down for me.
There are 2 ways that is taking shape. One, it's through the parent university, that Mel.
I was going to ask about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That was the,
Absolutely. He
I
always takes
had my
our
note there, yeah.
academic plan and basically translates it.
Great.
Because the academic plan is written for teachers and principals. It is not written, it's not parent-friendly, it wasn't written for that purpose. It was written for teachers and principals and us, so we all have the same picture, the same language, so we can talk to each other. So he translates that for parents, and then the schools themselves also help parents understand what their strategies are when they hold parent meetings in the beginning of the school year, so that parents know. But I will also say, it's an area where we need to continue to grow and continue to help parents understand what is my role, what is expected of me, and what should I be doing, and what should my child be learning right now. If they're in 2nd grade or 10th grade, there's a difference, and let's know what you can expect of your child. And also sharing some of the brain research, because the brain shifts. And a 10th grade brain is very different than a 2nd grade brain in terms of access to certain parts of the brain that shape behavior. So.
And I would just add one more piece to the parent involvement. The one thing that we're trying to do is to get some parent involvement in the PD planning process through our proposal process. So asking principals, this is very introductory level, but you know, what are the partnerships telling you about what parents know about their children, and then how does that inform PD? So it's one more aspect of how parents, you know, can help bridge the professional learning within the district.
Now, does the work we've been hearing about with equity, is that going to be part of this as well then? Professional development would deal with equity?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That is a very deep part. So I don't know if you want to continue in there, or I can, because I want to talk about Harvard before we leave. So let me wait till the end for that.
Yeah, so I think that kind of covers the how we go about our learning, and then the last, these are just a little bit of, you know, some of those details around what we're learning as an organization. Total courses last year, these are individual courses. We offered 1,950 courses, and that went everywhere from a six-hour day to a 1-hour professional learning. So it went all the way from that big picture learning, which there is a time and place for. You know, when Mary Jo said the stand and deliver kind of PD, but sometimes that has to set the foundation, but then all the way down to a 1-hour session with small groups of teachers. So it's a pretty big number, but that just shows the variety of courses that we're going on throughout the district.
How many did you say again?
1,950 unique courses.
Okay, and those were open to staff, administrators?
Yes, that was
cooks,
district-wide.
Okay.
So that includes instructional and non-instructional. Courses
If I can just ask too, so how does that, do you guys talk about who's in front of us? Like, who are we teaching? Because this big word of urban that often seems to mean either they don't learn as well, or they come in with some deficits or something like that. But I'm just wondering if you guys have a chance to talk to our teachers about, this is who is in front of you, not that it solidifies it and you're always going to see them that way, but just an understanding of the contextual of who are we serving and all of that. So how do you guys do
Absolutely.
that?
So maybe I should insert the equity piece, because to me, your question ties right
Well,
into equity.
I can wait.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, and of those 1,950, 1,185 focused on our district priorities. So those were around the knowledge of standards, backward mapping, and assessment literacy. So that was a priority in the district, and then all staff, you know, throughout all instructional staff, from principals to individual teachers, again, there was a focus on those district priorities. Within that, those, as I mentioned, that 30 hours, and this is just speaking about the instructional staff right now, of those 30 hours that teachers were required to complete, 95% of our teachers completed that expectation. And then of that, 46% went above and beyond. So they went more than 35 hours. They did things like take courses outside of the regular district-provided PD. So overall, our teachers are attending the professional learning that is being set forth for them. And then I think collectively as a district, the fact that we have these priorities, the teachers are seeing this common language that we're speaking throughout the district and seeing a value in it.
Now, does that include, like when you have a staff meeting after school, would there always be some component of professional development in a staff meeting as well?
So the staff meetings are, they're not considered professional development if they're the administrative type of meeting.
So this 30
There
hours.
is a time and a place for that, but this is distinct, planned, intentional professional learning, and those were happening after school as well. Those were those professional learning communities.
So teachers were required to earn 30 hours of professional development in addition to any of the staff meetings that they might have right after school?
Correct. And that was broken down. There were 3 days with 6-hour days, so 18 hours of professional development. that were during the school day. So those were the days like before school started, and there were a couple throughout the school year. And then they had 6 hours of PD choice that they took outside the district, or they had options to go, outside of the school day. And then they had the 6 hours of professional learning communities. So
And that included they had to go to learn how to use their new computers. Did that count?
that counted towards their above and beyond credit.
Above and
So they
beyond.
did get
Okay.
credit for, that went towards their highly effective rating to attend that. And then other courses that are instructional and non-instructional combined were 765, so all other role groups. And typically, that number is a little smaller than the others because those, some role groups they did theirs more in their 6-hour chunks. So it didn't make a distinct course for them, but it still all went into the 30 hours. So they took everything from monthly school safety courses to opening procedures in the fall for our custodial staff, exploring technology tools, and partnering with families. So they had a wide variety of options. And again, those department leaders were the ones who knew what was relevant to their staff, and they planned accordingly.
Very cool.
And then the last thing is just, and I know, Mary Jo, you're going to touch on this, just offsite conferences. A lot of our, especially non-instructional staff, look for things that are relevant to their staff, that are conferences that they can send their staff to. Things like financial planning, financial preparation at the Kellogg Center. We had a group that went to the national conference in Anaheim, California to implement synergy effectively here. So there's a lot of different options for our non-instructional staff as far as, their department leaders really look for what's relevant for them.
And
So
then
that's
all of
kind of-
this is with the partnership of GREA. How does that leadership intersect with you guys as they look at their work and
Sure. Well, we work with them on a continuous basis for professional development. So Sharon Pitts, through negotiations, negotiates the hours. Well, not the hours, because we always have that, the days that we're going to have PD, because we always have 30 hours. And then we work closely with them in terms of making sure the building representative has a voice when they're planning PD. Also, if you look at the PD guidebook, the planning guidebook, you'll note in there, I think it's like pages 14 and 15, because we added an additional 6 hours for job embedded, and then GREA had written a document to us with their ideas of job embedded PD. And so you'll see notations, and I believe it's 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there, you'll see big, bright yellow spots. And that's where, this is still in draft form because we're working with them. Here's how we talked about it, here's how GREA talked about it in integrating our language in together so that it's seamless, that we're trying to work closely with them in support of teacher learning. So you see right there, I believe it says GREA language.
it does?
Yes.
That's good, because sometimes we'll get information or request or something about GRA and professional learning and jiving the two, and so it's nice to be able to have a source of saying, oh, it's in there, or we know our staff is working on that, all that kind of stuff.
Well, we appreciated them taking the initiative and providing us with it was a 2 or 3 pager document about, they called it PLC, which is equivalent to job embedded, although there are other forms of job embedded. And so it was great to be able to work through that together. And I know Sharon Pitts is in the process of continuing to communicate with them. And, our content, I would have to say PD's challenges, we have more content that we want to learn than we can fit in 30 hours.
Right.
That's our greatest challenge. So
Yeah.
we're not a lack of what we want to learn. It's finding
Yeah.
enough time. That's why the job embedded becomes important. Because we are trying to be in tempo that may grow and rekindle for some the love of learning. Because as human beings, we do like to learn. But sometimes we did some things with PD that I think turned some teachers or principals or other learners off. And now we're trying to turn that corner. I know you have a couple more things in
Yeah,
Tina.
no, and I think, that kind of wraps up the whole district wide, what we're learning as a district. And I know Tina, she kind of tries to get everyone when they first come to us in GRPS. So she works with the induction program, and she's introducing some things that include the non-instructional staff. So I'll just turn it right over to Tina.
So I have the awesome opportunity of working with our new staff and supporting them, welcoming them in, making sure that they understand our expectations, and also supporting them through that process. So as the induction program coordinator, the induction program also aligns with our district's priorities and our mission and our vision, with a specific focus, on our new staff and on our mentors. So who are we? The induction program, we are a very integral part of the professional learning that supports our new teachers, our mentors in their practice, the teaching contacts, and also building relationships, because we know those relationships are key. It's designed to meet the state expectations, where new teachers within their first 3 years of practice have to fulfill 90 hours of PD, and they also have to have a mentor, and that again aligns with that job embedded PD opportunities for them. So that is where we come in, and we play a very critical part in making sure that those mentor selections are matched. We have criteria as a district that we do send out and communicate with our principals, letting them know these are the folks and this is the kind of mentor we would like for our new teachers to have. We also provide PD that aligns with best teaching practices, the Charlotte Danielson rubric, a framework for teaching. And we use those types of resources to make sure that the PD and the learning that they receive are best practice and research-based, and with our highly qualified teachers. Who we serve, last year we served 246 teachers. We had 176 mentors participate in the induction program. And we support, again, that mentor matching process. And that process has been a very unique process, one of the ones that I feel like the teachers really value and really enjoy having those collaborative conversations and building those relationships within their workplace and within their practice that allows them to really learn and grow. So that piece has been exciting. That piece we're continually working on, and we're working on refining to make sure that it is best as possible for our new teachers, and that those mentor matches are allowing them to grow professionally. So,
May I ask one question about, are all the mentors in the same building as their mentees?
that is our goal. Our goal when we match our mentor and our mentees is that we match by content, and that we also look at where their location. Usually with elementary, that is pretty easy to do, but then when you get into teachers, for example, that are fine arts, a lot of them have, they service more than one building. So that's not always the case based on their content and based on, their subject matter that they're teaching.
So every new teacher last year should have had appointed to them a mentor within that building.
Correct. Yep, within their first 3 years. So the mentors, and there is an expectation of mentor meeting hours. When you are a first-year teacher, you have a minimum, and there's no cap, of 18 mentor meetings. A mentor meeting consists of 60 minutes. As a second-year teacher, there's 9 meetings that are required. That's the minimum. And then the third year, there's 4. And again, there's no cap with that.
So are the mentors given a financial award for
Stipend or-
Yes.
all these extra hours they spend?
Correct. Mentors are given a stipend. The new teachers are given that new teacher PD credit that goes with that new teacher 90-hour requirement that they have from the state. So they get the PD, and the mentors receive the stipend.
But the 90 hours is a total for the 3 years, or is that
Yes.
Okay.
Within their 3 years, they have to
complete the 90?
complete their 90-hour requirement.
Okay. And so their professional development is really done with the mentor?
A lot of it is done with the mentor, but we also do New Teacher Academy.
Okay.
And New Teacher Academies, last year, we had 34 hours of New Teacher Academies. Those instruction PD opportunities are typically 1 hour. We do differentiate, so we have a 100 level, 200 level, and 300 level. The 300 level courses are 1.5 hours, because we do know as a new teacher, you have a long day, there's a lot going on, and just adjusting to your practice, so we don't keep them 2 and 3 hours typically after school. So those are 1 hour sessions, 1.5 hour sessions, and last year, we even introduced New Teacher Academy 400 level, which is an action research, which allows them to really reflect on their practice. There's 3 modules where they would come in for their teaching and the professional learning, but then there's 3 other sections where they participate in actually reflecting on their work within their classroom. So, and those are 2-hour sessions. But by that point, there are prerequisites to those courses. Again, they would have to take the 100, 200, and 300 level. So building that professional learning stamina within our.
How long have we been offering this to our teachers?
It's been actually 3 years plus now with this program, with our New Teacher Academy. So it's exciting to have them come in, because our focus there is basically twofold: classroom management and instructional practices. And again, it's all research-based. We use a lot of different research, and we give them tools, strategies, resources that they can put right in their belt and even take and integrate in their classrooms the next day. And so we try to make it very practical and relevant for where they are. Our mentors even receive professional development, because again, learning how to mentor and to coach requires some practice and some learning. And we have offered, last year we offered 46 hours of mentor PD. And within that mentor PD, again, they're given the tools and the resources on how to support our new teachers within their practice and their own professional growth. So that has been an awesome opportunity of growing their practice and differentiating their PD as well. We have a 100 level, and all mentor academies are 2 hours, because we feel like they can handle the 2 hours after school.
And would that take the place of some of this other required 30 hours a year? This
It
is
does
over and above.
not take that place, because again, they're paid.
Okay, okay.
So they have a minimum requirement of 4 hours of mentor PD, and then they have those mentor meeting hours
Okay.
with their mentee.
Okay.
They can also take additional mentor PD, which can go for above and beyond. So it can go for that highly effective learning that they're trying to achieve. Also, we started a really cool program where mentors become certified. So once they complete the 100 level, 200 level, 300 level of Mentor Academy courses, they become certified. So that stipend that they receive will increase once you become certified. And then the following years, you will only have to take 1 Mentor Academy course as a refresher, but you also allow the opportunity to facilitate some of those Mentor Academy courses. So they don't have to just sit as a participant, but at this point, they've built their level of expertise in their mentoring. They've been mentoring a while. They've participated in all the professional learning. So now it's their opportunity to even facilitate and lead some of that learning.
Would it be appropriate for a school board member to attend any of these professional development programs just to see what they're like? I wouldn't want to step on anyone's toes, but.
I think we would probably, because I got to think about the participants, and then to have a board member sitting in a session with the participants. So let's talk about that
Yeah,
and see
yeah.
what we might be able to do.
Just
Because we would
interested
love
to-
to have you have the knowledge and the
Yeah,
content.
Yeah,
But we can figure something out.
okay.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
That is a good point, yeah, but it sounds
Yeah.
very exciting.
It is exciting.
When I think about the way we were just, okay, here's a book, go teach, and don't ask me what you're supposed to do.
Good old days.
Just keep them quiet.
I'm wondering, when our teachers, I hate to say other districts steal them from us, but when they go elsewhere, how does that compare, their experience having had this kind of exposure, and then they go somewhere else? have you gotten any feedback?
Oh, sure. GRPS is seen as on a cutting edge of professional learning and professional development with
Yeah,
what we
that's
offer.
my sense.
If-
It's like you got some good folks, so.
They usually, when they leave our district, they're usually well prepared to go into another district and step right in.
Oh.
Well, how nice, then we're preparing them for
Success.
Another job.
Yes,
Well, we're working on keeping them, so.
yes,
Well, it helps
absolutely.
again, I'm just going to show another example of being tied so closely to the curriculum and the curriculum specialists because they have the cutting edge research-based practices that they're bringing into the district and the strategies and the instructional work that needs to be done. So that's the piece that's, it's like gold.
Well, when I think of the many languages that we speak, the
Absolutely.
cultures that are represented, we have to contextualize all of that and figure out how do we develop these young minds, and then, you know, they're valedictorians, they're going, you know, full rides all over the place, and so yeah, it seems like it would be nice to, you know, shine a spotlight on you guys and say, look at the way that, and 50-something different schools, buildings, with all of the nuances of, you know, those communities.
Yeah,
It is
very
quite
different.
amazing, the
Well, we
feat
work
that you
very
guys
hard to
accomplish.
teach all students.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I believe we're doing to help build that commitment and that love of being a part of GRPS and being proud is we're launching this year basic orientation for all of our new employees because we, in the past, have had orientation for all of our GREA where they had a minimum of 18 hours of new staff orientation where they get to know the district's program and policies and its staff. And that has been very helpful with them in understanding the why, who we are, and what we're about. So this year, what we are excited about is we are launching 4 new courses, and they're called the GRPS Way courses. And they focus on those 4 tenets of the GRPS Way. They're going to focus on knowledge, student achievement, professionalism, and equity. These will be about 1-hour courses, and again, they're inclusive of all of our new staff. So we're excited about that. We're going to offer those in August, but we're also going to make those recurring, so they will take place throughout the year. And one of the neat things about this is it's an opportunity for our facilitators to not only be cabinet members or maybe part of PD team, instructional EDs, but we also want to utilize GRPS staff to help co-facilitate some of these, because again, you're looking at your peers excited about the GRPS way, and that's one way to sustain that culture and build community and build a connection and a buy-in.
What was the 4th one? Knowledge, student achievement, equity, and
And professionalism.
professionals.
And those are the 4 tenets of our GRPS way. So all 4 of our courses are based, each course is based on one of those tenets. And again, we're giving everyone kind of a balcony view, but again, just the buy-in of who are we, what are we about when you say I work for GRPS. So that's an exciting opportunity to this year.
And can I just pick up on the equity one that Tina mentioned for the questions that were asked prior in this conversation? And so as you can see, equity is very important to us. And so there are several different efforts underway, and there have been over time. When we had National Equity Project here, Partners in School Innovation were also part of bringing in equity. We've done some book studies on it, but I'd say we are much more formalizing our processes and our structures for embedding equity throughout all of our work. So we are putting it into all of our PD. That's one of the things we're going to work really hard this year. So by next year, it isn't like you go attend equity over here or something on equity, but it is a part of all the PD I get. It's just automatically in there, along with social emotional learning. So that's a change process we're going through this year. We've been talking about it for the last year, and now that we've stepped up with social emotional learning, through the potential, had been a potential grant with the Wallace, and we know we're not doing that, but we're still continuing with that work, but also with the work of Harvard. That's the other significant piece of work. We have had, I have my data here, I want to get it. We have had 76 different attendees attend Harvard over the last 2 years. And we have had 11 courses that they've attended. And one of the things Harvard does, equity is in every single course. That is just a natural thread. So I know we can do that here. I know that's very possible. We have attended Instructional Rounds, Superintendent's Institute, Aspiring Leaders, School Turnaround Leaders, Urban School Leaders, Family Engagement, and then Race, Equity, and Leadership. And that was a very powerful course that we actually are going to bring that to the district for all of our school-based leaders on August 14th and 15th.
Okay, I was wondering if that was the part of it. Okay.
It is. And then it is also being built and tied directly and connected with the work that Malika Brown and Maida Gunnell have been doing out of the Office of Equity and Inclusion. And they have a new course, and you have the title that we're launching this fall.
The GRPS Cultural Landscape, and I think Malika may
like that.
have piloted in pockets of the district, but it's going to be out, district-wide available for multiple staff members. And that shares, the diversity in the district, who our students are, who our families are, languages, countries where our families come from. So it's really exciting that she's sharing that district-wide, because you may be 2 blocks away from another school and not realize that it has. Yeah, so it's really exciting.
Cool.
So those are the pieces underway that are very specific to address the equity issues and the access. And then how do we teach all students? So equity can also be about inclusion. Are all students included in our...
What's special education?
They're right there. It goes right along. Believe me, that was one of the big topics in almost all of the sessions as well at Harvard. Is and I cannot. Dr. Hare is his name, H-E-I-R, and just a phenomenal thinker and articulate about what is needed for special ed students. So it is very inclusive. I think that's...
And I would mention that the special education staff this past year, when we talked about those district priority courses, those teachers went through, they had the district priorities as part of their focus as well. So thinking about it from an inclusive lens, how are we backward mapping for all of our kids throughout the district? So,
The kids pretty often get the staff.
so so that common language is going throughout all staff members.
And Dr. Richard Lemons, who's been a part of the district over the last several years, will continue with some of his work. And he is a direct link to Harvard and to this piece on equity. And so he also helps us with the very practical, some of it's theoretical, but now what does that look like? And Harvard will also assist us with that. They've already, they are looking at our equity plan that Malika has and Maida have put together along with the cabinet. And so they're reviewing that so they can put that and embed that into their work on August 14th and 15th. And then on the 16th, we'll take that into a very practical way with the work that in our priorities for this coming year. And we'll stay with the 3 priorities of standards, backward mapping, and assessment literacy. We'll just drill in deeper. And then one thing I want to close with is next year, we do have 30 hours again. And as I shared a little bit earlier, we are putting 12 total hours into Job Embedded. So we're increasing it from 6 up to 12. And so I'm very excited about that. So more learning right there in that school, in the schoolhouse, as they say, in that classroom. So teachers can get together and, obviously it'll be done through a PD summary form, but there will be a formalized process in which teachers can organize some learning through their PLCs and Job Embedded at the building. And then 18 hours will be between district with our 3 priorities, and the other hours are through the building themselves, determined by principals. And then we have a significant professional development going on with Discovery Education, which is very exciting, to launch our new science curriculum. And I am really appreciative and excited about the work from the curriculum specialist and Karen Carolyn to have been very thoughtful about the professional learning process, that we have a plan laid out for the entire year. So often in the past, we would roll out a new curriculum, you get a couple of days right up front, and then that's it. This is very thoughtful through the entire year, we have a process laid out. So we appreciate your time and hearing about professional learning.
I have to say, you guys seem to work well together.
We do.
I just saw this. You can just toss the ball left and right, and
Yeah,
and
well,
you guys
thank
are able
you.
to pick it up. That's
We
neat to see.
appreciate that feedback.
Thank you so much. I think we are adjourned.